This light is just so annoying. Hey book club. I know I haven't done an overbooked in a while, and a lot of that was because I was reading cheesy romance novels and I didn't really think that you guys wanted to hear about all of them, and some of them were like really bad but really fun. Basically the reading equivalent of the Hallmark movies I was watching all Christmas. But today, because I sent a draft of my next novel off to one of my first editors, I thought I would make this video for the writers who are watching. If you didn't know, I was self-published. I am. This is my first novel, Magic Required. This is my second one, Dominion Required. And my third novel that I'm working on right now doesn't have a title, but it's actually not the third one in the Lachlan series. I'm making this video because I want to take you guys with me through my writing journey from now, finishing my first full draft, to when I publish this next book. First things first, when you want to publish a book, you have to write it. And that's sometimes the hardest part, or at least when you're in it, it feels like it's the hardest part. Writing is not a talent. I think it's a skill. In my first novel, Magic Required, Lachlan, the main character, talks about somebody he knew in university named Dyson. In my second novel, Dominion Required, we meet Dyson in person. Dyson is the main character of the novel that I'm working on now. This book was actually the first novel that I wrote. It's the first novel that I seriously considered publishing, not the first novel that I wrote. The first novel that I wrote in high school, and I'm sure it's horrible. Why am I so sure that it's horrible? In 2014, I put down my first Dyson novel and I put it on the back burner. We'll call it Dyson 1. I put Dyson 1 on the back burner. I thought maybe I'll come back to it, but I really like the world I built. In that world, there was a character named Lachlan, so I wrote his story. Now, 2020 and maybe September or October is when I started to edit Dyson 1 again. It was so bad. Like, I was such a bad writer in 2014. I cannot even explain it to you guys. Writing is a skill, not a talent. It's something that you work on and you can get better at it. A good story isn't enough. You have to practice writing. You have to figure out what your style is. And once you've done that and you've completed your first draft, that is like the very, very first step. Even though it's a huge milestone, especially if it's your first manuscript, you've still got a long way to go. When I say I finished my first draft of the Dyson novel, I really finished my first draft in 2014, and it probably took me a year to get there. I don't think I was writing as efficiently as I wrote Magic Required or Dominion Required when I was writing Dyson 1. It was about 63,000 words when I got to it again in September or October, whenever I started. It's now close to 80,000 words, and I actually still don't think it's done. Though this is, to me, my finished first draft, it's probably like the 20th iteration of this manuscript. So be really, really patient with yourself when you're writing. And don't get overexcited and think you need to start promoting your book right now. Starting to build an author platform? Yes. Starting to build a following? Yes. Start a YouTube channel? Yes. Do something like that. If I had the channel I had now, when I first published Magic Required, I would be in a totally different spot. I mean, I don't think I would have gotten here because it's the gamers. The gamers got me here. And I love you guys for it. I really do. As I was writing Dyson 1, I was editing, and I'd get to a spot where I was like, oh, I need this major event to happen and I haven't set it up yet. So I'd go back to the beginning and set up that event, and then it would happen, and I'd keep going and be like, oh, something else needs to happen here, and I don't want to forget to add all these things, so I'm gonna go back. So I went back and I went through it all again, and I kept doing this until I got to about 40,000 words. And I was like, okay, this I'm pretty happy with, but I know there's something missing. So I actually went on Fiverr and sent that first 40,000 words to an editor. I'll link her information in the description because I actually really liked my experience with her, and she has the second half of my novel right now. I got it back, she gave me some good direction, and it was also really, really motivating. So then I kept going until I finally got to the end. I got to about my 80,000 word, I think it's actually around 77, and I felt like, okay, this is finished. That said, guys, I know there's something missing from it. I know it's not perfect, and I'm still missing a through line somewhere, but right now where I am, I need help. I sent her the last 40,000 words. I told my neighbor this, and he said to me, does that mean when you get it back, you're sending it to print? No, no, no. This is the journey that I'm gonna bring you guys on with me. First, I finished the manuscript. That is the most important thing when you're starting your publishing process, is you actually have to have a book. And remember, I am self-publishing. If you want to try and traditionally publish, please do some research on querying and query letters and go for it. I wish you the best of luck. After I finished writing it, I edited it myself once. I went over it, well, actually more than once, but if you're starting out, if you really need somebody else's eyes on it, I would say go over it at least once before you send it off to somebody else. I've then sent it to an editor. I'm gonna get it back from her and then make sure every single word in the novel is there for a reason. I've said before on this channel that I'm actually a very slow reader, and that's the same for my writing as it is for anything else. What I do is I get my computer to read my novel to me, and I read along and edit as I go. Once I've gotten it back from my first editor and edited it myself, I'm gonna send it to my second editor. When I get it back from her, I'm gonna go through it again, and I'm gonna send it to my third editor. When people pick up Dyson 1 or whatever the title is going to be, I want them to be able to enjoy this book without having read Magic Required or Dominion Required. That's why it's important for me to get feedback from an editor who has never read my stuff, which is my first editor, and one who has, which is my second editor. My third editor, this is so confusing. Maybe it's excessive, but I think that having a different person for your content, like what your structure of your story, your character development, those things, and someone who's gonna go line by line and make sure every comma is in place and there are no spelling mistakes. If those two people are different, I think that's great. If you can find somebody who does both, that's great too. I sent it off on Sunday. I'm gonna get it back, then I edit it. I send it to Molly, then I edit it. I send it to Julie, then I edit it. I'll probably send it back to Julie after that. I'll edit it again, and I'm gonna hope that it's basically done. But there will be new things. The version that I first sent to Molly is not gonna be the version that I get back from Julie the second time. So I'm gonna send it back to Molly for a final edit, and during that time, that's when I'm gonna start looking for cover artists and auditioning narrators for my audiobook. As I go through this process, I'll give you guys like dollar amounts, how much I'm spending on all of these things, so you guys can have an idea of how much you want to spend. But if this is a route you're going, I suggest starting to save for it now. Once I have my cover art, I'll be able to upload the book to Ingram Spark. That's where I self-publish because it's a distributor to not just Amazon. My book is in Chapters, my book is in Barnes & Nobles, and it's on iTunes. That's all through Ingram Spark. I'm totally hands off with that. I know a lot of people like Amazon KDP, and if that's what you do, awesome. Tell me about it because I don't know much about KDP and maybe I should be using that too. Once I have my cover, I'll upload my cover files. I will print one book, maybe two if I want to see it myself, but one book, and I'll send it to a friend of mine who will be my final proofreader. On that final proof, she's looking to see that everything's lined up properly, that the cover looks good, that there's no like double pages or missed pages or anything like that. Proofing the actual physical book. I'm hoping that at the same time as that's happening, I'm proofing the audiobook. So I will be listening to the audiobook and reading along to make sure they're saying every word correctly, that there are no mistakes. And also, this is where I'm gonna catch any final typos or inconsistencies. Then I'll put in any final edits, I will upload it, I will set a release date, and that's when I'm gonna start to market. It's a lot. And if you guys really want to do it, you can. And I'm going to take you with me step by step as I go through this journey on my Dyson project. As I tell you more about it, maybe you're going to want to be a beta reader for me, and that would be great. Oh my gosh, I didn't even mention beta readers. I'd probably put beta readers in around where I'm sending the book to Julie. Honestly, I have found with beta readers, I get more out of them as content and like where I need to maybe punch up parts of the stories or look at things as opposed to huge changes. I've never had a beta reader that has given me feedback where I think something huge needs to be changed, because I've usually gotten that from my first editor. But that said, if you guys want to be a beta reader for me, please let me know. Okay, so let's work backwards. If I work super hard, maybe I'll be able to release in the last week of November. Goals. I want between 3 and 6 months to promote my book, which means that goals, it will be ready by May. Is that likely? 4 months to finish it? It's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna bring you along for the ride. And you know what? If I don't make it, if it comes out January next year, if it comes out February next year, whatever. I'm gonna do the best I can to get through this, and I hope this inspires you to start your writing project as well. So far, the edit on Fiverr cost me $70 each time. That's in Canadian dollars. I think my editor is in the UK, but I'm not sure. She just had good reviews on Fiverr, and like I said, I'll link her in the description. I guess that's it. That's my whole spiel. Man, I was talking to one of my best friends who, back when I was writing Dyson 1 the first time, I gave to read. Man, I owe them so many apologies. It was so poorly written. Like, whew, you guys know I'm obsessed with Harry Potter if you've watched any of my other overbooked things. And like, I was editing through, and I was like, oh wow, I just lifted that phrase right from Harry Potter and put it right into my book. Like, my writing style has changed so much since then. So that's the journey I'm gonna be going on. I hope you come with me. If there's any other questions that you have about this first stage that I didn't talk about, drop it in the comment section below. Also, let me know where you are in your writing. I have had a couple questions about getting over writer's block, so if you guys want a video on how I do that, let me know in the comment section. Stay safe out there, guys. Take care of each other, wear a mask, be friends instead, and until next time, may the force be with you. Live long and prosper, and don't let the muggles get you down.
Magic Required, a Lachlan O'Leil novel, written by H.S. Paisley, narrated by Patrick Zeller and Addison Barnes. To my Aunt Ruth, for the generosity that changed my life. My grandmother, for her endless love and support. And to my father, for helping me make the nightmares funny. Chapter 1. They decided water would be the way I died, but I swam anyway. It was my way of biting my thumb at them, at the old gods who made me like this. To be honest, I hated the water. It scared me. I doubtless hated the fear more than the water itself, because I needed it to. It kept me centered. I didn't used to swim. I didn't used to need to risk my life to clear my head. There was a time when singing did that for me. It still did, sometimes, but not like it used to.